For the past few years, the reputation and prestige of World of Warcraft has taken a hit, to say the least. Whether it be from the various attacks on gameplay, from both Battle of Azeroth and Shadowlands, the Titanic MMO has managed to trundle its way into the 2020s, with the idea of a 20th anniversary event now being a reality rather than fiction. To this end, Blizzard unveiled Dragonflight, their newest expansion to hit its hallowed rosters in April 2022. Ill-content to let a year where an expansion should come and go without an attempt, this startling announcement was made alongside their confirmation that the classic World of Warcraft servers would be getting their releases of Wrath of the Lich King this year. Activision-Blizzard highlights that the expansion will take place in the previously lost Dragon Isles, allowing those who purchased the expansion to level up to the new extended cap of level 70, alongside a whole host of other goodies, such as the introduction of the new race of the Drakthir, the reintroduction of the hero class concept with the Evoker, and a whole host of other assorted goodies that we know and love from World of Warcraft expansions. We also get a long overdue update to the HUD and UI elements, which will no doubt be augmented and upgraded further by the add-on community within a few weeks of launch, or even sooner. But this does beg the question in the day and age. Will Dragonflight give World of Warcraft the second chance that it needs? With Activision-Blizzard's recent disaster in the form of Diablo Immortal,
do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys don't.
It will be the case that Activision-Blizzard are trying to claw back some credibility, with the pinnacle game on their roster now standing forefront for scrutiny. With this, we'll dive into some of the elements from the deep dive release and review some of the elements that we now know about Dragonflight. We'll start with our newest locale in Azeroth, the Dragon Isles, which does get a fresh lick of paint and a graphical update in comparison to the previous zones, albeit they are continuing the same line of ensuring that measures of regional diversity that we see from many other of the previous titles. Various different biomes and styles are to be expected from a Blizzard/World of Warcraft expansion title, with the zones somewhat being reminiscent of previous examples and expansions, although this is par the course due to the years of development. The new zones that you'll see clipped here in this video are visually impressive, but there isn't a lot further that I'd want to say on the topic. Zones, after all, are only as good as the content that tends to fill them, and the ideals in mind for the game going forward. We should also see that Blizzard are definitely not taking their eye off that arena also. On a final note, for some strange reason that takes place, we're finally getting ducks in Azeroth. No, seriously, this was a highlight of one of their videos. And ducking swiftly into our segue, we find ourselves on the matter of talent trees, and by proxy, that of the class and talent design updates for Dragonflight. Fundamentally, the aspect of talent trees has had a long and varied process over the life of World of Warcraft. Talents in the days of Vanilla WoW were a diverse set of different individual minor perks and upgrades that could lead then to more powerful talents and sometimes abilities. Fast forward to the modern day, and WoW has stripped most of these elements for a more streamlined, easier experience, where talents were taken at set intervals, rather than a talent point each level. On screen are 3 examples of the talent trees throughout the years for one of the Druid specializations. We can see an example from Classic WoW, from Shadowlands, and then one from the prospective talent trees in the Dragonflight expansion. Even without a detailed look, we can see that the Dragonflight tree will have more in line with the classic design of what a talent tree was, with the confirmation that skills and abilities will be tied to the paths they take, but will involve a less tedious process of deciding the benefits and drawbacks. Narrowing this down and removing the Shadowlands talents, we see that we are not looking only for a tree for the base class, but then one designed for the specific specialization that the player wants to be, ensuring that there is enough flexibility in their base class abilities before the player would lock in their options for this specialization. This flexibility, in my opinion, has now been returned to the player and has been sorely overdue. As for more than the 3 basic box options, the player now be able to mix and match between a variety of different niches, potentially spawning a new or fresh addition to the main builds currently in the meta, or creating new builds entirely from the ability of the new player to branch out further with their base class trees. All in all, the return to a previously well-developed and expansive talent system is nothing short of a benefit or a positive, as it brings forward the idea of the player of having more choice in their overall development. But if you think that talents are the only thing to be developed, you may want to hold on to your seat. Professions have always been a staple of the WoW experience, but over the recent years their interest and viability has waned, with certain professions being viable throughout an expansion, whilst others fall off and feel moot. However, with a deep dive into the latest expansion, Activision has put their foot firmly forward on the notice that professions will be taking a firm step into the 2020s with their latest release. Likely benefiting from the UI update changes, the professions are going to be benefiting from their own degree of innovation. Firstly, taking a snip from the video itself, we see that professions are going to benefit from the notice of class orders. These orders can be made out to the wider community, guilds, and potentially NPCs, allowing for individuals to place said orders and supply their own materials for the items that they aren't able to produce. Fundamentally, said orders can be picked up by any of those listed above, with the recipient and crafter of said order being listed for the player in return. Not only does this provide the community with some much needed interaction with one another, and potentially an alternative to mass spamming the trade chat for several hours, it also ties us into the introduction of the quality mechanic that they are bringing into the game. Quality is not too dissimilar to alternative systems seen in MMOs, where the better the end result, the higher quality the item, which may lead in this case to higher stats or a higher item level. As we can see for this screenshot in question from the deep dive, the crafters will be able to add items to the finishing touches. Not to speculate, but naturally one could assume that the lower bar here would be the indication of the potential end quality of the crafted item. To finish off, it appears now that all professions will have access to their own gear, helping with the process of getting higher quality items by improving their own profession gear. Alongside this, they're being all given their own crafting tables in the new central location or central hub of the Dragon Isles, allowing crafters to be socially interacted while they go about their own business. All in all, the benefits seemingly outweigh the negatives, right? Whilst I've not discussed some of the main draws to this expansion, such as the inclusion of the new hero class of Evoker, or the introduction of the dragon riding as a mechanic, this is due to the fact that we've previously seen the form of these two elements introduced in the form of Death Knights back in Wrath of the Lich King. Heroic classes, or the heroic class idea, was unique back in the day, but does it really hold up now? I don't think the allure is truly there, especially when we've already had a non-heroic class in the form of the monk already added into the game, and now this really just adds another class into the dynamic. As for the aspect of dragon riding, unless this mechanic extends beyond Dragonflight as a whole, it kind of feels like a bit of a parasitic mechanic that may not provide anything further after this expansion has ended. As we all know, we have a very bitter experience from how the garrison system in Warlords of Draenor panned out and what its effect on the actual expansion was. More importantly, Activision have put a deadline for the expansion's release down as the 31st of December of this year, that being 2022, despite the announcement of the game's release only being made in April. Whilst many will be hoping for a good result, it is important to keep in mind how this process and toil might take on the development teams that will be trying to furiously get this game done by the time of its potential launch date. Coupled with the current and outstanding issues for the company as a whole, it could be a case that a failure to launch the game, coupled with a crunch development, may cause the endeavour to ultimately backfire on the company and their already damaged reputation. My personal thoughts on this situation lead me to believe that the company would want to avoid a situation that will put them in the same vein as what happened in New World. However, the company has set a firm decision to release the game before, at the very least, December. I can foresee that this date may be pushed back in lieu of this, depending on whether or not the company puts forward a public alpha or beta testing stage, but at this point, it may be too difficult for the company to revise on it and turn back. Ultimately, do I think that this is the chance that World of Warcraft needs? Possibly. If the game and its designs brought about in the deep dive and the information is relevant, I feel that the game would be taking strides into providing a much better, rounded experience. However, I feel that they may be biting off more than they can chew in the time they have left, and with the current MMO market as it is, it may make their situation worse to rush out a product rather than let it simmer until it's done. That is it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like and subscribe for more mmorpg related content like this. But until next time, please take care. Thank you.